the previous example, we compared the working of a decentralized economy, a pure competition economy, with a centralized one, the Robinson Crusoe economy. Also in this case it is possible to compare these two different economic organizations. But in this case, clearly, with many firms, many goods, etc., we shall more properly consider a socialist economy, in which it is the public authority which must determine the quantities of the different goods which are produced and sold on the international markets. Question. But this public authority of a socialist state will act with respect to what principle? But clearly, since the goods are exchanged, the fixed price system of international market, it is convenient for our country to maximize the total value of production given the international price system of produced goods. Because in this way it will be possible to buy a larger quantity of goods, to exchange a larger quantity of goods, and then to divide these goods between the different subjects which inhabit our socialist country. Note that in this case there is only an international price system P. The factor price system W does not exist because in the socialist economy there are no markets for factors. Factors are entirely owned by the public authority, which must decide how to divide them, how to allocate them between the different firms. So, the surprising result is the following. The solution is the same of a competitive economy. The solution is the same as with Robinson Crusoe. This is, as before, the international price system of the products. Now let us compute the total value of production. This is simple. Sum for I, which ranges from 1 to n, of Pi times Fi of Xi. Xi, I remember you, that is the vector of factors employed by the ith firm in order to produce the ith good. So this is the total value of products obtained in the economy. But clearly, the quantity of factors cannot exceed the total available quantities. So, substantially, the problem is to maximize the total value of production, subvinculo, that the sum for I, which ranges from 1 to n, of xik is equal to x bar k for every k which ranges from 1 to n. In other terms, the total quantities which are employed by the n productive sectors must be equal to the total available quantity of factors. Substantially, this condition is equivalent to the equilibrium of the factor matrix, but in this case the problem is different. These are not demanded quantities, are simply the quantities which the public authority decides to assign to the particular height firm in order to produce the corresponding good. So we have a constraint maximization. Maximize this linear function, this function, subvinculo that these equalities are verified. If we suppose that for every good and every factor, the quantity of that factor employed in order to obtain that good is positive, then the optimal quantities of factors which resolve this problem of constraint maximization must verify the well-known marginal condition. Do you remember from your studies in mathematics, in the optimal point, all the partial derivatives of the Lagrangian must be equal to 0. Let us write this Lagrangian, it's a very complicated one, is sum for I which ranges from 1 to n of pi times fi. Let us write this vector extensively. It works minus sum for k which ranges from 1 to m of mu k times, sum I which ranges from 1 to n of xik minus x by k. Is it clear? I repeat, we have here the usual Lagrangian expression in order to resolve a constraint maximization problem. And the Lagrangian is equal to the function which we must maximize, the total value of production, plus the Lagrangian multiplier times the constraint written in this form. But note that here there are n different constraints, one for each factor. So we must introduce n Lagrangian multipliers. But however, it's nothing but a generalization to every number of constraints of a usual Lagrangian in which there is only one constraint. Well, when the problem is resolved, all partial derivatives of this function must be, with respect to xik, must be equal to 0, as usual. It remains only to compute this partial derivative. Now, note, this is a partial derivative of Lagrangian with respect to the quantity of factor k employed by the ith firm. So, this term appears only as an argument of the ith function. It's not an argument of the other n minus 1 function. So, the partial derivative of this is pi times the marginal product in the sector I of factor k, which is function, obviously, of x star I minus mu k, because when you derive this expression with respect to xik is multiplied by mu k. The other terms of this sum has a null derivative. So it remains only mu k. Reverie I, which ranges from 1 to n, reverie k, which ranges from 1 to n. You obtain this result. But note that this is true for every good, for every I, and all these values of marginal products must be equal to mu k. So you can consider only the condition which regards factor k, you obtain the following set of equality. Mu k is equal to P1 times the marginal product of factor k in the first sector, etc., 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 equal to Pn times the marginal product of factor k in the nth sector. The nth sector. In other terms, the value of a marginal product of factor k must be equal in every productive sector, and is equal to the Lagrange multiplier, the kth Lagrange multiplier. This holds for every k. But if you interpret this mu k as a shadow price of factor k, you remember, shadow price is not observable on the market because a market of factor k does not exist. But if you interpret this mu k as a shadow price, you already obtain the same condition as before. For every firm, the value of the marginal product must be equal to the price of a factor, the factor price. So you already obtain the same set of conditions by interpreting these Lagrange multipliers as factor prices. In reality, under some suitable conditions of concavity, etc., etc., in this way you identify exactly the same set of solution of a pure competition economy, of a decentralized economy. So, substantially, our socialist economy, if has the objective of maximizing the total value of production, which is obtained by means of a given quantities of factors, the system will produce the same quantities of goods of a decentralized economy, a pure competition economy. And we can interpret these Lagrange multipliers as price factors, which are entirely equal to the equilibrium price factor of a decentralized economy. It's a very important result, which can be considered as original by Pareto. One of the first papers of Pareto in general equilibrium theory regarded exactly with working of a socialist economy. He obtained this set of equalities by showing that his result is absolutely equal to that of a competitive economy. Clearly, the goods which are produced are distributed among the inhabitants of the system according to some particular rule, which is not necessarily equal to that which is prevailing in a competitive economy, because in this case the quantities are determined by level of individual wealth. But for what concerns the level of production and the factor prices, the result is the same. It's a very important result. Huh? Well, I shall repeat all the proof in this case, because it's a bit more complicated than before, than the previous result. So, suppose our open economy, this is the international price system of produced goods, but our economy in this case is a socialist economy, without markets in the economy, without factor markets in the economy. Problem: in which way this socialist economy will decide the quantity of goods to be produced by means of available quantities of factors? The answer is clear. It is convenient to maximize the total value of production, because this permits to the economy to acquire a greater quantity of goods in the international market. Then they will be divided among the different subjects of economy according to some rule which is not necessary to investigate here. So the problem is the following: maximize the total value of production, value computed by means of the international price system, maximize this value sub vinculo that for every factor there is equality between the total quantity of that factor employed by the n different sector and the total available quantity of the same factor. A sort of equilibrium condition, but it's not really an equilibrium condition. Well, if we suppose that every productive sector employs a positive quantity of every factor, these vectors have all positive components, then, you know, when this system condition is solved, the optimal quantities must verify the usual property. All the partial derivatives of the Lagrangian expression must be equal to z. The Lagrangian expression is given by the function to be maximized, minus the Lagrangian multiplier times the constraint. But in reality, in this case, we have n constraints, one for each factor. So we must introduce n Lagrangian multipliers. When you maximize this L with respect to all the xik, you obtain this simple result. But the derivative value of the marginal product of factor k in sector I minus the kth Lagrangian multiplier must be equal to z for every I, for every k. So clearly you obtain the following result: mu k must be equal to the value of all marginal products of factor k in every sector of production. If you interpret this mu k as shadow prices of production factors, you reobtain the same conditions as before. For every third, the total value of marginal product must be equal to the price of a kth factor. Not only the conditions are equal, but also the solution of the system is the same. This mu k, so determined, are equal to the factor prices determined in the decentralized economy, and also the quantity of products are the same. Under this point of view, there is no difference between the decentralized economy and the socialist one. They obtain the same result. The difference is clearly in the way in which this total value of production is divided among the different members of the collectivity. Because in the decentralized economy, this is determined by the level of individual wealth or income. In the socialist economy, according to some rule of repartition, which is clearly not equal to that of a decentralized economy. But the working of the two economies gives the same result from the quantitative point of view. Let us have another break.